My name is Darren Hupke, and this is Pixels and Polygons, part of the Soundstone Network. Welcome to a new episode of Pixels and Polygons. I am Darren Hupke, the host of the show. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back and checking out another episode. Hopefully this is another entertaining one for you, and I appreciate you for coming back week after week. If you are new, it's a simple pitch. I sit down with a guest each week and I ask them a video game related prompt or question, and we talk about it. It's 20 to 40 minutes or so each episode. This can stem from topics like what's a underappreciated or below average game you love that doesn't get enough attention, or what is your history with video games? When did you start playing and when did you fall in love with them? Or why do you play the games that you play? There could be a lot of different things. The conversations can go in a lot of different directions, but the point is just to have a great and thoughtful conversation that maybe sparks your own ideas or your own interests as a listener to think about your own responses, and hopefully just have some fun along the way. If you like what you hear and you want to support the show, I've got a few different ways you can do that. I have links in the show notes below to everything that I do, and I'll highlight one of those in particular. Pixels and Polygons Quarterly is, as you guessed it, a quarterly magazine about retro video games. It evolved from my retro gamezine project. Instead of covering a single game in a month, it is now a quarterly release where I cover a few different games in each issue. There's an overarching theme with every issue, and I'll have an original essay that ties all of the games together. But in addition to that, you'll have individual game histories and development details, personal experiences from all the different writing contributors, scans of magazines, manuals, artwork, even of the era, like reviews, a lot of details and artifacts if you are a fan of those games or a fan of the games in that era. The goal is to highlight and cover games that maybe aren't the AAA top 10 of all time type games, but games that deserve some attention and maybe forgotten and maybe a whole new generation should discover and enjoy. So hopefully you enjoy what you read. Quarterly release, you can find them on pixelsandpolygons.net in a physical format, or you can find them over on my Patreon in my digital store. A few different options for you, so check those out. Links in the show notes below. With that out of the way, we can start the episode right after an ad from one of our Soundstone Network partners.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Nick McConnell, and you caught me reading the instruction booklet for Street Fighter II in preparation for my weekly stream Instruction Derby, where I take a look at the creative, fun, and sometimes bizarre lost art of video game manuals. Did you know that, according to the manual for Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo, Ryu was born in 1964, making him 62 years young, canonically? Happy birthday, Ryu. You're looking great. Did you also know that, per the manual for Laser Invasion on the Nintendo, the UN enters a conclave in order to select a new commando? Or did you know that the dancing enemies in Super Castlevania are named Paula Abgul and Fred Askare? These important facts and many more are discovered every Wednesday at noon Pacific on Instruction Derby, over at internet website twitch.tv/Nick McConnell. Part of the Soundstone Network.
Welcome to Pixels and Polygons, a conversational podcast about video games. I am Darren Hupke, and I'm here with a brand new guest, someone who new to the show. You've never heard of him, I don't think, unless you, or maybe his neighbor, or something of that nature. I don't know how else to introduce you, Christopher. But welcome to the show. How are you doing? Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, I don't really have a fingerprint on the internet much. I guess the one place that people may have seen me, I do post quite a bit on the insert credit forums, or my pseudonym, Southeast Paw.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I know of you just via in real life meeting you in Portland last year, but we were just talking. I mean, obviously, you're just like all of us who attend retro game and video game conventions, a fan of video games. But yeah, you stopped by the booth, but we got to talking. You had heard the podcast before, and it was just fun meeting you and talking to human beings who like similar things, and so. We made it a plan, actually, back then. That was last fall, to have you on for an episode.
October, yeah.
So it's been a little while to get this finally on the books, but I think it's going to be fun to just chat about games and have you on the show. So thanks for doing it.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Yes. So typically, yeah, I mean, I like to, give especially first-time guests like a little introduction. So if you want to maybe tell us a little bit about you, like what is your background like with games and, what attracts you to attend video game conventions and retro gaming conventions like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo?
Oh, yeah. Well, so I am a child of the 80s and grew up in Chicago. My family didn't have a ton of money growing up. And so my gaming primarily was either at a friend's house or the arcades. So I was very fortunate to grow up in the arcades. And video games just are a part of my life. I absolutely love them. I consume them in so many different ways, watch super plays before I go to sleep, or speed runs, or TASs. I read books. Darren, your books have been absolutely amazing. I definitely get around to games when I can. As life changes as we get a bit older, and but yeah, video games have they're kind of one of my most important ways to escape.
Yeah. I can agree to that and attest to that. Yeah. And it's harder to find the time as you get older, like, with the life and things all happening around us. But I do the same thing, like throwing on like a random speed run or a random YouTube video, or even summoning salt and history of world records and whatever miscellaneously that I can just like stumble upon. It's always good to just kind of like wind down and doze off with something like that playing. And even Did You Know Gaming have recently like recompiled a bunch of their videos like into long like fall asleep to 7 hours of Nintendo 64 facts. And so it's just kind of fun to throw one of those on sometimes.
That's almost like fall asleep and wake up too.
Yeah. So good stuff. But what the conventions and all stuff, like where we met in person and everything. What do you love and what do you enjoy about going to events like that?
So conventions weren't a big thing for me, despite living in Chicago, which has some pretty huge conventions. I never got around to going to conventions until I moved to Portland. So the Portland Retro Game Expo, where we met, was my third year there. And I don't know. It's I still collect digital media. At this point, I feel like my collection is getting to the point where I'm like, okay, it's got to be a really specific thing that I'm looking for. But I like being around the people. I really enjoy the arcade that they bring. It's absolutely fantastic. And it kind of changes every year, which is cool. It also is a bit eye-opening. I don't know if you've tracked prices before, but at times it almost feels like we're getting priced out of hobby that we enjoy so much, especially if there's older games. But yeah, I've made some friends at the conventions. I've made some friends the Insert Credit Forum. Then we meet at the conventions and hang out afterwards. So it's become a different kind of social connection than growing up with your grade school friends and just going over and playing video games. This is like we're adults and we're talking about video games from a different perspective. Yeah, no, I agree. The price out conversation too. Yeah, I have I've been a part of all of the waves and the crests of retro gaming, but on like the wrong side of the bell curve that probably helped others profit significantly from it. I had
I mean, all of my like childhood games and all that stuff were sold like long ago, but I had a pretty big collection of like PS1 and Dreamcast and Nintendo, Super Nintendo, like, just, a ton of great games, all collected together. And in one year, I decided upon myself, like, I really wanted to like get into another hobby. I wanted to try like some filmmaking and things like that. And so I thought, like, you know what? Like, I play modern games. I can keep up with the stuff. Like, the old stuff, like, I don't necessarily need. Like, maybe I can just, sell this off. And as long as I'm generating one hobby into another, like, it won't be such a loss to me. So, like, this will be fine. And so I, like, sold off, like, via eBay, all of my stuff. I mean, I had, like, the strategy guides to everything, every obscure like PS1 RPG and everything with the guide, like the Suikoden guide and Parasite Eve and like just like everything. It was, I had like hundreds of games, and I feel like I got maybe at the end of the day like $500-600 for like everything, which to me was like going to buy like a cheap camera or something. But this was also simultaneously lining up with my wife and I living on our own in our own apartment in Southern California as young adults. I mean, still technically even teenagers at 19. And so like that just, it ended up like before I could even buy the camera, it went to like rent and bills and things like that. And then so like a few months later, I realized I was like, I no longer have these games that I like loved and enjoyed having this big collection of. I don't have the thing I wanted to flip it into. Like I just have nothing but like sadness for being an adult. Like this is not fun. And so I like going around to these conventions and seeing like the games and like remembering like, my childhood copies of them all and like seeing absurd like price stickers on them and everything. Like I'm never going to buy them back again or anything. And I'm fine with that. Like I do enjoy, I'm maybe the minority side of things, but I like a good remaster or re-release. Like I don't mind like repaying for it again digitally. Like I understand people like, hey, digital stuff is just a license. You don't own it, whatever. Like if it just gives me access to play it, like that's really what I'm trying to do. Like I unfortunately like, that ship sailed for me and owning these games like a while ago. I'm definitely not going to be able to pay those prices back. So I think it's just fun to kind of like look around and see. And like just this past weekend, I was at the Game On Expo out here in Phoenix, and like I stumbled upon somebody selling like the unauthorized Castlevania Symphony of the Night strategy guide. I used to have that. It wasn't that great of a guide, but it was like $80 for it. And it was like goodness. I was like, oh yeah, me and my brother used to flip through that all the time. Like that helped us find the inverted castle. Like, oh, what a good time! Like $80, that's crazy. And then I do remember my wife and I I guess it was before I was selling my games, when I was still like acquiring retro games and everything. One year for my birthday, she was going to buy me a copy of Snatcher for the Sega CD, and it was like on eBay like $150-200 or so. And in my head, I was like, no way. Like I couldn't justify like anybody spending that amount of money on me for one video game. Like that's insane. Like I'll buy it another time, when I'm a little bit older, when I'm making a little more money, but I wouldn't want to sit on a game that expensive. Like that'd be insane. And just saw a beat up copy there this weekend. Somebody was selling for $1,300. And it's just like, oh my gosh, wow. Like now, crazy Darren should have bought that at, $150 or $200 then, but that is why they're priced these way. Obviously you don't know what you have and they're, limited quantities. And as people start to increase that demand via like dialogue and internet and, one person willing to pay that amount now sets a new high watermark for it that people try and ask for. Right. Like it's just the nature of it all, but it's still entertaining to me. I don't mind never owning them again. I just like seeing them out in the wild and remembering, and as long as I have access to play them again in the future, which there's many ways, both legitimate and illegitimate these days, that you can still like enjoy your hobby. And I'm still legitimately willing to give a lot of these companies these money as well if they re-release these things. So please do so. Please continue to do so, companies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I agree completely. I really care about how accessible the game is. And I think that that's the biggest challenge when it comes to these older games in some cases, not in all of them, but it's just like being able to play them. I'm not going to call it natively, but if it's converted to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or, the Xbox, it's like, they've done the work and it probably should play as well as it did on the PlayStation 2. It's like you get the upscaled Wall-E for the PlayStation 5 now from the original PlayStation 2 on your PlayStation Plus. It's like they do some work in there. I don't know how much a copy of Wall-E for the PlayStation 2 goes for these days, but the fact that it's there is awesome. I don't have to play it on one of my other consoles. I don't have to spin up something that a laser that could die on or use a hard drive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just when it's done, my goodness. Ugh.
Yeah. When they're done well, that's the right thing. When they're not done well, like I'm a huge Sony nerd. So when like that Parappa the Rapper remaster came out on PS4, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then you were just hit with latency issues, and you're like, this is unplayable. Right. I still managed to like force my way through it and like smile about it and everything. But in my head, I'm like, well, you can't really be like a new player to this and like really understand it. You're gonna like jank your way through like this latency issue and not really quite understand the rhythm of it that you could get if you played it on that original hardware or original hardware like so when it's done well, I love it. When it's not done well, it's like, get somebody who knows what they're doing on this, please. Help.
Right.
But fun. All right. Well, thanks for giving us a little bit of your background then. That's good to know and fun to hear. So, again, thanks for doing the show as well. But are you ready? Do you want to answer an icebreaker question to get our video game thoughts flowing?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. I'll ask you one, maybe that's not too crazy to stump you on or anything, but for our next episode, I'll give you a harder one. But I like to ask people this to kind of hear their gaming habits and everything. But what is an option or a setting that you always change before starting a new game?
Oh, I'm definitely one of those people that will go into the options before I start a game. I want to see, what default difficulty and brightness and sound level, subtitles. I want to see what they have there. Can't remember the last like real big AAA game that I went into because nowadays I haven't been into an options where I've been inundated and been like, oh my God, Gamma. But I think subtitles is something that I have defaulted to turning on, and I think that most video games these days actually have them on as default, and some of them they do a really particularly great job of doing subtitles. And it almost like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I finished in the past year, was just phenomenal with where the subtitles were and the capacity of them, and it was a really good. I enjoyed it. It's something I do know that the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era, sometimes I'd be playing and the TV would be low or something, and then a cut scene starts, and then the characters are talking, and I'm like, oh, where's the changer? I got you. I don't know if you've run into that before, but I'm glad that it seems to be a thing of the past. As most games now have it. And it was more because I've missed so many things, not so much that I've acquired subtitles. It's just I've missed stuff in the past. So I've been burned too many times.
From even just the accessibility standpoint, I love that it is a explicit standard nowadays for having that. There's some folks who require that to be able to enjoy the game. So ensuring that everybody is doing that is a really good thing. But even with movies, we're a subtitle family now ourselves, and there's just been moments where if the mix is low and you're supposed to faintly hear a monster growling in the background, like if you're not really you don't have a high volume, you don't necessarily hear that or catch that. Like sometimes the subtitles, when they're done right, will be like faint sound of monster growling or something like that will like appear, and it's like, oh, okay. I'm not just like hearing background noise that I didn't think was it. Like it helps ensure that you're really kind of not missing maybe some details even for things. So subtitles. I'm a subtitles person. I'm also one of the probably I don't want to say few, but I realize after talking to so many people, I'm an inverted aim person, and I didn't realize how few of us that I've actually met in person. So it doesn't sound like you're an inverted aim person though either.
I'm not. Was it Doom 2016 or it may have been Halo. I never played Halo, but it was one of those ones where they start the game, you're locked in, and they're like, look up. We're going to get to know you. Just reorient yourself. And they're like, look up. And then it just takes what you do with the right analog stick to learn how you play. Like when they tell you look up, do you tilt up on the analog stick or do you tilt down on the analog stick? And I thought that was brilliant. It's like what's inverted. It's like what's regular and what's not. So it's like, yes, I believe I play regular, non-inverted.
Yeah. Well, I'm also interested. I mean, I invert the y-axis, but the x stays the same. So if I'm, pressing it to the left, it'll look to the left. But if I'm pressing it down, I will look up. So it is kind of yeah. It's a Frankenstein system, but it's what I'm comfortable with doing, and I need it to be successful. And I'm, I feel like I'm good at a lot of games, and so, let me do my thing. So I'm glad games still give us the option.
I wonder where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been gaming since the NES and everything. So, I mean, I was there at the adoption of analog sticks. I mean, Super Mario 64 came home, with me, but that was, I guess, left-handed and movement analog. But once the second analog stick came in, and once shooters started happening, and once like camera controls were a thing, I started getting stuck in this inverted system, and yep, that's just the way I've been ever since.
Yeah. So yours came from a first-person perspective, like the shooters, as opposed to the flight sims or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've played, I remember I loved, Sky Odyssey and stuff like that on the PS2. So I played games of all genres and everything. So I think it's just to me, I'm looking at the polarity of that post, of the analog stick. So on the back end, me pressing down is the post is going up in the air. And so I'm mentally wrapping my brain around that from a flight navigation type of mindset and everything. But yeah, from a camera control side of things, that's where my mind is going. Yes, it makes sense. If you press up on the analog stick, you want the camera to move up. But I am also thinking about it going up as well when I'm pushing it in the downward direction. I'm just thinking of the backside of that axis there going up and everything. So it's it's exactly. weird how brains are wired that way and everything. But don't get me started on those left-handed people now. They're doing it all backwards.
Southpaws, I know.
My wife's left-handed, so she'll listen to this and be mad. I'm no slander to the left-handed folks out there.
Absolutely
but okay. Not. You picked a couple questions to answer, and so we're recording one of them now. This is a good one. This is a one that's, I think, a great introduction episode question. It gives ideas, it gives folks the idea of, the kind of game fan that you are, potentially. But the question we wanted to ask for this episode is, what is a game you consider to be one of the greatest of all time? And then, I'd love to know what about it, gets it right for you, and why does it kind of maybe stand out that way for you? But what is one of those greatest of all time games in your mind, Chris? Well,
you're probably going to have a hard time finding me say something bad about this game, but so Hyper Light Drifter is one of my greatest games ever, by far. Do you have any experience with the game?
Yeah, I've played a little of it, but I didn't see it through. It's one of those ones that I think it came out right around the time something else was going on, and I meant to always go back to it, and then I just the current just kind of took me away from it, and I've never returned. But there's been a lot of times, every time I see it on sale and things like that, I'm thinking oh yeah, I should go back and play because I own it. It's just I haven't committed to playing through that yet. So every time I see a pop up on a sale or something like that, it's oh yeah, I should get back to that. So this is another one of those moments where I'm oh, maybe I should go play it. So let's hear your thoughts. Tell us more.
So just as a brief description of Hyper Light Drifter, it's a 2D action kind of game, a bit like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. The developer, Alex Preston, that made it, wanted to kind of create a modern day SNES game. So the main character, the Drifter, does use a sword primarily and has a gun, but most of the action is done with a sword, and there is a dash button. The exploration is very similar to the Legend of Zelda. People just, there's slashing, there's bushes, there's enemies that come out. There is no stamina per se, which is something that, around that time, it felt like there was more and more adoption of kind of Dark Souls stamina meter. I think Tunic, another one of my favorite games, got plagued with it. But this one is just going around exploring. The world is divided into a kind of 4 different areas. One that's to the north, south, east, and west, and you start kind of in the center. It's exploring. It's a boss. It's going back to the center. It's using the kind of pips that you pick up to upgrade your health vials, which is the only way to heal in this game. There aren't hearts that drop from enemies. You have kind of in a Dark Souls fashion, you do have these vials that will fully replenish your health, and you can get more of them through using this currency. And there are just mild upgrades. You can do that 360 swing for your sword that you can purchase. You can upgrade your dash to go through bullets. It's a simple game, but in how it's made, it's just beautiful. It's got some of the best graphics that I've seen, and this is again, something that I particularly enjoy. The soundtrack is by Disaster Piece, who did Fez, and some people, would be really excited about that. Some people not so much. In my opinion, I think the soundtrack is as good, if not better, than Fez. And it's the action itself is very kind of push and pull. You have to know how long your swings come out and how quickly you can dash away. It's not something that, like in Dark Souls, you really need to pay attention. Like, oh my goodness, this is going to take how much time? It's quick, and you can dash away, but it's definitely not. You're a powerhouse, and you're going to be able to just run in and do everything. I think you have a maximum of 5 health on a normal run through. You got a maximum of 3 health on a hard playthrough, which is very, very difficult because some enemies will deal, 2 points of damage, which means you can get hit twice. It's nuts. And you'll upgrade with some weapons. And, it's just, I appreciate the simplicity of it, probably more than anything. Of that, who you are at the very beginning is basically who you are at the end.
Yeah, this was definitely came from. This was what first released in the mid 2010s or so, right? This was in that wave. I think
it was. So it was a Kickstarter game back in 2013 is when the Kickstarter launched. And the hope was that it was supposed to be published by 2014 or 2015. It eventually came out in 2016 on the PC and PS4. Then 2018, it got upgraded for the Switch, where it started actually out at 30 frames per second. And then when it made it to the Switch and iOS and Android, it was 60 frames per second. And so, yeah, there's also, I paid attention to the Kickstarter. I think one of the main reasons that I wanted it was because it was also announced for the Vita, which it didn't come out for. And so that was a big bummer for me. I didn't have a PlayStation 4 at the time. It was just like, I want this small thing.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was. I may be wrong about it, but I think it used that Game Maker engine as well.
It absolutely did.
Yeah, which I liked at the time. That was it was. I had this itch of I've always had a dream to make games and everything, and so games like this and Hotline Miami and just seeing these success stories happen from small studios and just this complete devotion and dedication to their ideas and their games and all that stuff, and being able to come out and realize these really cool, imaginative, simple fundamentals, but kind of flipping some of expectations on their head, and with really cool visual styles. It was just an era where I think we were inundated with just a great wave of indie games and everything by these small teams and all that stuff. this was self-published, right? This didn't somebody didn't pick this up and all that stuff. This was just them making the game and just kind of running it on their own. Yeah, which is really cool. Not that I mean, being published by Devolver or whoever isn't a bad thing either. As well, I love that they exist to find studios to help support them and allow them to put their games out and everything. But this was just a different era entirely. So yeah, that's why I've always wanted to play it. Is just because I love that independent spirit of it all, being a fan of punk music and everything. The do-it-yourself kind of attitude, obviously is very much ingrained in me and the things that I do. So I just really respect and appreciate that, and I've always been attracted to the game, but I just haven't played it. But I think maybe I just commit to it. I just do it this year. I just no more excuses. I just start playing it. I think I have to do that. I owe it to myself.
You ought to. It's interesting that you bring up Game Maker because, at times I love Miami. Just, I don't know, that game felt like it changed video games. It was the music in that game, the graphics. But this game at times has that feel of you finish with an area and you're like, there's a lot of death around me. And, you're going in and you're kind of like, how am I going to handle all of this? But yeah, Hotline Miami was another one with that engine. Another one of my favorites, Risk of Rain. That one, very, very cool.
Yeah, that's fun. Were you a Kickstarter backer for this one, or you just found it early on that way and were just waiting for its release?
I was a Kickstarter backer at the level that, would have come out for the Vita. And I think both the Vita and Wii U had problems with Game Maker. And so, as they're kind of making it, they're like, I don't think we're going to be able to swing it on this. And so I eventually switched it to the PC and purchased a handheld gaming PC, which is, I actually got it for this game specifically. There are more and more of these out now, but a GPT Win, if anybody's familiar with those, it's literally a Windows PC, but in the form of a clamshell. And I did because I wanted to play this portably. I wanted to be able to, get in bed and play it and play it on the couch. And so that's how I ended up first playing it. Then played it on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. I've got the Android version now, which is my first time playing through. Actually, it's my second time playing through now. My Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, which is great. So there are a ton of Android devices out with actual controllers, and in my opinion, it's by far one of the best ways to play it just portably.
Yeah, I recently bought a. I've had this Miu Mini for a little portable retro handheld. But
yeah, those are great.
It's kind of like long sessions gave my hands a little bit of cramping and whatnot, So I had backed the Anio Pocket Air Mini. And so I got that recently in, and that is an Android-based one. I didn't realize the difference between the two, but on the Miu, I was able to install the Onion OS and, made it really nice, clean front end that boots right into it. And so I kind of got frustrated and I haven't even finished setting up the Android one just because I'm wanting just a boot straight into it, clean interface, and so I'm trying to find a solution for that. So maybe I'll pick your brain offline to find out your recommendations on setting up an Android device, because I do love the feel of the little Pocket Mini or the Pocket Air Mini. They have so many different ones. The names, definitely change the size and conversation. Yeah. But yeah, 2016, that was, I'm trying to think about the cancellation of the Vita version. The 2016 was also, I think that was around the same time, Mighty Number 9, another Kickstarter phenomenon, came out, and another one that Vita version also did not get to happen. And as a lover of the Vita, and as we were just talked about handheld portable systems and everything, it was just kind of like a sad, slow death for the system. It felt like, it felt like everybody loved it but Sony, and so it was just dying dying the slow death because of that, and then people wanted to kind of support it, but then nobody else was supporting those people trying to support it, and we all just kind of quietly went down with the ship and everything, which is kind of sad. But I dream for these rumors of their like Sony being surprised by the success of the PlayStation Portal and maybe inspiring them to have some type of handheld version of whatever their next system may be. Like, I'm into the idea of them trying to maybe switchify maybe a low power, like high portable, like edition of whether it's the PS5 or PS6 or whatever it may be. Like, I'm into the idea of that. So I hope those things come true, because I've always loved like little, just a sleek little pocket handheld to be able to play some like, cool modern, games, both indie and larger. I hope for something like that in the future.
Oh yeah. Sony handhelds, that's a whole nother episode for me. I absolutely adore them. Absolutely. Yes, the Vita was, oh my goodness. And it was one of those things that, and I don't know if you were doing this when Kickstarter was kind of putting up and we were getting more and more games announced, but I was like looking for games that were committing to a Vita version and seeing how feasible it might be, because I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I want any kind of game for that system. Yeah,
I even backed some, I think it was from a Japanese company, but it was like a plastic edition thing. It kind of slipped over the sides of the buttons, and it quote unquote like created 2 additional shoulder buttons to give it a more genuine L1, L2, and it just used like a little contact point on the back touchpad, or maybe it was the front screen, just to like emulate the like, okay, when you press this trigger, it's really going to just tap the back, and that's going to act as if it's that button there. But I was trying to like get all the mileage out of my Vita as I possibly could, and as I'm talking here, I have a PS TV on my desk that it's just been sitting here for a long time that I've been of debating on, because I hear it's easy to like soft mod them and hack them to just be like opened and everything, and so I have a secondary monitor, so I was like, I should just have this here. I have this out as a reminder to just plug it in and set it up and use this here at some point, but not yet. Again, maybe I do that, and I guess I can't do it and play Hyper Light Drifter on there. So I guess that's counterintuitive. I got to commit to one path of these things, and that's it. But it sounds like, these games, like as much as they invoke nostalgia for older games and like elements that you're reminded of with older games, it very much feels and stands out on their own. This is now a decade old. Is this a game that you would still recommend to new people to check out? Is this now a retro game to you that you would still say stands the test of time and is worth playing, like the games that inspired it?
Oh, that's a tough question. And only because I go back and play games all the time. Like in a given day, I'm between an older game and a new game, that kind of a thing. I think that it's a wonderful game. It is well made. It is a perfect challenge. It has no slow parts. The music definitely stands up. The graphics stand up. It's saving in between rooms. So if anybody is like, oh man, I just lost 20 minutes of time because it didn't save. It's literally, if you die in one room, you get zapped back to the beginning of that room with everything respawned. That's it. So I think it is a game that anybody nowadays could play. I can't speak to what people are enjoying these days. It's definitely not for, someone that may only enjoy third-person shooters or first-person shooters, but if someone's looking for a fun time with amazing music, Hyper Light Drifter's gotcha.
Okay, Hyper Light Drifter. This has been a non-paid ad for this fun game. That's it. We did the thing. We answered
Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, yes. But we did the thing. We answered the question. That is the goal of the show. So we've pixeled and polygoned our way through the episode. So Christopher, thank you for jumping on the show. Anything you want to like plug or say or share before we wrap this episode up for listeners?
I would say, I've mentioned it previously, but the forum community at Insert Credit is absolutely fantastic. Very genuine people that have fun ideas and ways to think about video games. It's a way that you can find like-minded people that would listen to this podcast for sure.
Yeah, that's fun. The good folks. I follow a lot of the folks there over on Blue Sky. So Brandon Sheffield, Dash Parrish. Frank from the Video Game History Foundation.
Frank, yeah.
Alex. I'm a huge comic book fan, and so I loved the Venn diagram of gaming and comic book fans and all that stuff. And Alex Jaffe is. But what's so funny is that the niche within the comic book world as well, there is still quite a divide, and they are definitely a heavy DC Comics reader, and I am absolutely not a DC Comics reader. So I follow and I stay paying attention just out of respect for somebody who appreciates comics. But I've not found a common thread where we're talking about comics on where it's I have nothing to contribute to this conversation because it is about some DC events that I am fully unaware of, and unfortunately have no interest in Superman. But good people all around though, and a fun show. So again, unpaid ad for the Insert Credit folks and the Insert Credit forums and another podcast there. So check them out for sure. But cool. Well, thank you, Christopher, for doing this. Again, I love having new guests and new voices and just having a new opportunity to have these fun conversations. So thank you for doing this. We're going to have you on a future episode for sure. The peek behind the curtain is we're going to immediately record that following this, but listeners will hear it weeks after this one. So if you liked what you heard today, look on the podcast feed in a few weeks after this and we'll get another episode with Christopher. So thanks again. Thanks everyone for listening, and find another episode in your podcast feed next Friday.
Listen to Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. Hosts Gooey, McKenna, and friends flashback to the 90s and early 2000s with a look at the Nintendo 64's catalog and its contemporary cultural and historical context. Starting with the console's launch titles and proceeding in release order, we discuss classics like GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, and Star Fox 64, as well as some not-so-beloved games, lesser-known titles, and everything in between. Along with game-specific deep dives, we also cover other bits of pop culture from the time, like films, music, and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.